Welcome to Inside Builder channel, large language model automators, Python experts, and my dear friends. Control the cloud with artificial intelligence. Natural language instruction to control cloud instances in AWS using Maker Suite. Before we dive into the challenge that is going to be solved, I would suggest that you guys take a look at this playlist in my YouTube channel where I discuss about the Maker Suite as well as Palm API, Google's API to connect with their large language models. It's the discussion that we are having today does not, it's actually large language model agnostic. Only thing that we need to think about is the large language model should be having the capacity to trigger the functions. So I will explain to you what I mean by this as we go down into this discussion. So take a look at that videos that I had showed to you guys. Now, what we are planning to do in this discussion is that we'll be building atomic Python functions. So what is atomic Python functions? So these functions have just single utility or single function that or a single action that this function will do. Especially in if you are from the DevOps or cloud infra background, you must have come across various libraries in Python like Boto3 and Google Cloud Infra Python libraries. So all these libraries have various functions which can interact with the instances, with the services, with the products inside the cloud environment. What we are going to try and do is that we create a wrapper around these functions after the necessary credentials have been authenticated. So this is what we are going to do. And after we authenticate it, we are going to connect those functions that we write, atomic functions that we write, with the large language models. Like it could be OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Maker Suite's Palm large language model, or Vertex AI's API. That does not matter. What is more important is that how you write the functions and how you connect those functions with something called as multi-input tools in Langchain. So as this particular starting slide suggests, that we will be using Langchain and we will be working with AWS. This is just an introduction of what is possible with Langchain, with large language models and the cloud infrastructure. You can always replace whatever we are trying to do. The endpoints, like you can use OpenAI instead of Maker Suite, you can use GCP instead of AWS. So there is no restrictions. This is just a video where I introduce what is possible and how you can think about coding and creating the connections between the cloud infrastructure and the large language model. Let us move into the steps for solving the challenge. So you have to write Python functions, atomic Python functions. I will show you how to do that using Boto3. You have to connect the functions to LLMs, and then you have to use natural language to power on, get the status, and shut down the instance. So these are the three simple things, but you will see that even this is going to be a little bit challenging with the current scenario of how the cloud infrastructure gives the data back to us. So I will be diving into that using the example, so you will get a good understanding of what is going on. So what I mean by an example. So let me go to this this particular page where you can see the AWS instance that is already kept in my AWS account. So we will be working with this particular AWS account and AWS instance, and we will be getting the status, starting it and stopping it. And I'll be time and again coming to this discussion, this particular instance, and the input tool that we'll be using, the multi-input tool that I'm talking about using Langchain. This is the multi-input tool, and this multi-input tool we'll be using with something called a structured tool. In order to work with structured tool, the purpose is based on the gist of what is this structured tool is that you can use multiple parameters functions and make it as a tool inside Langchain. And in the doc string or in the kind of a help that you provide in the function, you can tell what the function will do. So here what happens is, so I have given two parameters A and B, and I'm just informing that this particular function multiplies the provided floats. So when this particular function is converted to structured tool and then connected to the large language model using the initialize agent, what will happen is this this particular input that you see will be read by the large language model, and then it will be used to take the parameters and pass it to the function for processing it. So I'll be showing you an example when it is getting executed. So you'll see that in action. The main point is we need to use structured chat zero shot React description. So usually it is zero shot React description, but in this case you have to use structured chat, or else this function, this kind of multi input function will not work. So keep this in mind. So this is the only major important difference I wanted you guys to understand. Let us jump into the code directly. Before that, let us go to the PDF and ensure that what else is required. So we need to have access to AWS with access key and secret. So I'm not going to dive into that part of discussion. So I hope you can use any of the openly available videos to understand how to get access key and secret. Do sign up for their AWS account, and they give 1 year free access to most of the services, especially to the instances. For 1 year they give you free access, at least for T2 medium and T1 medium. So those things it has slipped from my mind, so do take a look at it. You have to have an access to LLM. So the LLM can be ChatGPT, it can be OpenAI, or it can be Maker Suite, or it can be Palm, whichever suits you, you can use that. Ensure that only thing is it should be able to trigger the functions when it is connected with the initialize agent. So this is something that you guys have to take care. The function to be written in Boto3 library. So I'll be sharing you how to write these functions, and then Jupyter Notebook to bring it all together. So I believe that you will actually like what is going to have happen in this particular discussion, and do leave a like and comment in the video so that I can understand better about your needs, and share it with others. Subscribe to my channel for further updates on not just on large language models, but on the entire ecosystem of open source libraries in Python and related technologies. Let us move to the browser now, and then I'm going to quickly walk through this code, and I'm going to show you what happens in parallel, right? I'm installing various libraries here, Boto3 from AWS, Langchain for controlling the large language model and connecting the functions to the large language models, config parser to safeguard the secrets, and Google generative AI for getting access to the large language model, Maker Suite large language model. I'm importing all this stuff here, and I am okay. So you don't need to worry about this config parser. Basically, what I'm trying to do is using this config parser, I'm trying to get access to my AWS access key, secret, and region. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be using this format of accessing those values. So basically in this location, so if you are going to put Google API key, you have to just place the Google API key directly, the string directly here. So you don't need to think how this config parser works as of now. If you really want to understand about that, you can take a look at the help of config parser. Let us move forward. What happens in case of the structured tool is that you have to import it from Langchain tools. And there are a couple of ways to work with structured tool. It is a little bit confusing when you directly dive into the help file that is provided in Langchain. See, the point here is you have to you can actually explore the Langchain help system is it is becoming better. The help documentation was a little bit difficult at the past, but now things have been improved a lot by the Langchain team. Thanks to Chase for that. The point I want to make here is, for this particular discussion, it is better to use multi-input tool. There are other ways to do it, and it can become little overwhelming and complicated. So at this moment, use the multi-input tool to start working, and later, as you get used to Langchain, as you get used to large language models and how the things move between the large language models, you can change it, right? With that said, now you see this is the first atomic function that I'm writing, and this function I have given a name called as get instances. I just want to get the status. So after I create this function, As of now, don't worry about this particular class that I have created. So I had been working with other ways of initiating the tool. So this is one of those trials. So you don't need to worry about that. Here, let us get back to this function. So here I am talking about the return state. I am requesting the LLM to use this function whenever it has to get the state of the instances in AWS account and return the state of the instances. So it has to get it and return it. This is what I'm asking. And in order to do that, once the function, this get instances function is triggered, inside EC2 client dot describe instances gets triggered. And this is the actual function. This is the actual Boto3 function that provides the value. So how to start this Boto3 function? You have to get the EC2 client correct. So for that, okay, so here what has happened is I had to move this up. So let me move this here. So this should be done first. So after you get the AWS access key secret and region, just update it in these locations, and then you have to just initiate the EC2 client. Once you get the EC2 client, so initially what I was planning, I will tell you that also. What I was planning is, initially I was thinking of giving all the key, secret and region as a query, as a natural language input to the model. So the challenge there I faced was, I can actually do that and I was able to succeed, but it becomes very convoluted, and the data, the secret, the region and the key was getting revealed when I was trying it. So I felt it was a security challenge, and I did not want, also additionally, I did not want the large language model to look at our security keys also. So that was the main reason I changed the setup from directly giving the key, secret and region in this instance to separately initiating it. But you guys can still try it, but don't be careful with your secrets, because once you really lose your secrets, it's very difficult. Your account can get hacked immediately. So do not again, keep it very safe, and do not ever commit the secrets to GitHub or any of GitLabs or anything. Just keep it with you and use config parser. Okay, let us continue. So this particular step actually asks for the instances, and I'm going to run it. So this particular notebook, I've already run it. And if I click on the tool, if I look at the tool, okay, let me actually make it a little bit better. So this is the tool that I have created, get ID tool, and immediately you can see the description, and you can see the kind of the activity that goes through this process. So all the data that you have provided here is updated into this particular structure tool. And this particular step is where I am taking this simple get ID tool and I am creating an agent. And let me execute this also. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to ask, find the instances running in AWS account. I'm not giving anything else, right? I'm just asking it blindly that find the instances running in the AWS account. And you immediately see that it is, okay, it is erroring out. First and foremost, it's erroring out. But you see that it has actually got what is going on in the verbose mode. And you can also see that it is trying to respond, and the instances running in AWS account it is giving this output. So there is an exception here. So this is not an exception that it's actually hindering. So this is a normal output parser exception, but it's fine. And you see final output is that this particular instance is running inside the AWS account. But let me go to the bot master for a moment. And we know that it is stopped, but still the browser, still the large language model is informing us that it is running. This particular instance is running, but it's not the case. But at least we know that it is available. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to do something called as start instances. So in case of Boto3, if you are going to use this EC2 client object instance, you can use start instances and you can give the instance IDs. So this is where the multi-input tool comes in. So you can actually give the parameter, the instances you can initiate this instance, this particular parameter, using the natural language. So what you are trying to do is, in this particular help, I am telling that use to start the instance with the provider instance ID. So it will look for the instance ID in this parameter and it will then fill it. So that is what it will do. This particular instance, start instance function, I am going to initiate it and I am going to assign it to start tool. So you see that I am assigning it to start tool, and you can see the function start instances is assigned here using the from function. So this is very important. I am actually moving step by step. So initially I used only get instance. So where it is. So initially I used only get ID tool, that is get instance. Next, what I'm doing is I am creating the start instance tool, and then I am attaching that start instance tool here. So I am creating a new agent. I am updating agent here. You can see that the name is different. And then I am telling start the instance, and I am giving the instance name now. So I'm using the updated agent and I'm asking it to start the instance. So once it starts, so it is saying the agent, the instance has been started, and let us see the case right now. And you can let me refresh this, and you can see that the instance is in pending stage. So initially it was in it was in stop stage, but now it is in pending stage, and now once I click it again, it's in running stage. So basically, by using this trigger function, the functions that we have used, the instance has been started. Now we need to stop it. So next thing is we want to stop the instance, and you have to use the stop instances method. And so here also I am going to create a new function, and I am going to create a tool out of the function, and then I am going to attach that function into a new agent again. So here the name is same. I can actually change it, should not be a problem. So I will take it as update a 01 agent, and then I'm not going to give the instance name here. Okay, so let us see what happens. You guys know the answer already, so it's going to stop the instance, but I'm just saying please stop the instance. And the moment I say please stop the instance, it actually first of all gets the instance. It says that the instance is running, and then it goes and calls the stop instance. So you see the process which it is following. So this is one of the aspects that I really love about working with large language models and Langchain agents. So you see it is stopping right now. Let us go back to the browser for a moment. Let us go back to the code for a moment. So we right now in less than 17 minutes, you saw that we can actually control the infrastructure from Jupyter Notebook and also using the large language models using natural language. So we did not we did not actually use in the backend. Yes, we used Python functions. But if you're going to create an entire suite of functions, and you are going to connect it with the agent, and you are going to create a tool or create a product or a service that interacts with the cloud services using natural language, it is still possible. And the key point I want you guys to understand here is that I want you guys to practice a lot, because this is something that it takes time to understand. Especially when it comes to multi-input tool, and the agent interaction between the tool, the large language model, as well as the infrastructure, can be little confusing in the beginning. So try it out. Try out the code. I'll be sharing the code also with you guys. The Jupyter Notebook I'll be sharing with you guys in the description below. If you have any questions, do connect with me over the comments, and I will try to help you as much as possible. The key point I wanted to highlight here is that you have to build atomic Python functions. Ensure that you don't give additional function capabilities to any tool. So one tool does one thing, returns one aspect of the data or of the instance, not all the aspects. So why is that? Because the more detailed you are with, let us go back to the browser for a moment. The more detailed you are with the instructions, like the help that you are providing here, the doc strings that you are providing here, the LLM, the agent created by the LLM can understand which particular function or the tool to take, and which particular tool to decide and then execute it. This is the key aspect that I want you guys to take home. And also, next thing that you can try is to practice working with multi inputs. Instead of actually giving the keys as a separate step, you can try to give the key as an input inside this agent run. So when you're running this agent, try to provide the key as an input and see whether you are able to get it to access. So get it to access the keys, and whether the agent is able to start the instance. So these things are going to be crucial for if you're going to create a product or a service in the future. And also, see here what I've done is I have connected I have used the various Boto3 Python functions, and I have created new atomic Python functions. So this particular function does only one thing. It describes the instances and it gets the instance number or the instance name. That's it. It is. If I remove this two values, what will happen is it will give me a lot of instance details. So it will give me a list of instances that is running inside the AWS cloud, which can be confusing to the model to respond. So ensure that you know what is going on, because the large language model by itself will not know these things, because AWS or any of the cloud instances, the functions, the return parameters can always change. So these things you have to program, and once it is programmed and once various atomic functions are connected together to the large language model, then it can really start controlling the infrastructure. Here I am trying to control start, stop, but most of the time you might want to start by getting a user input, and you might want to come up with steps first of all by using plan and execute agent. And once you get the steps, then you can ask the agent to connect with various tools to do those steps. So that is a little more advanced, and it will take a lot more detailed programming, but it is possible. So now you know what can be done, and you have seen the outputs that has been created by these natural language inputs. Only thing is you have to write the functions in a more detailed fashion and ensure that the return data that comes out of the function is properly tested, because the secrets also can come out. So keep that in mind, because whenever you're using verbose, the entire process comes out. So you see that I am getting all the details of the instances here. And so most of the time this details contains crucial information that gives access to the instances. You need to be aware of that, and we are working with frameworks like large language models and Langchain frameworks. You guys have to understand how these things interact together. So practice a lot. Try to break the code, because it's your code. You have to break it and see what happens, and then only you will be able to learn. As I was telling, when I started this particular discussion or this particular Jupyter notebook, I was planning to go with simply multiple tools and create small tools for each of the functions. But what was happening is I was unable to give the multiple inputs like key, secret, and region as an input parameter. So it became a problem for me. Then I decided, okay, let me try multi-input tool, and that's how I stumbled upon multi-input tool. So I believe that you will also learn a lot. Do share whatever you learn. That is also one of the ways we can grow together. With that said, let us go to the PDF again. I believe that you have got an overview what you can do with the artificial intelligence models that is available right now with us, and how you can control the infrastructure. And also, you must be now thinking that you can actually connect your sensors that is connected with your Raspberry Pi or your own laptops that is actually controllable using Python. And if you thought that, then yeah, congrats. So you are growing with artificial intelligence and Langchain framework. Try it out and see whether you can control your own systems first of all. So now you saw that you can control the systems in AWS. So why not try controlling your own laptop or your own infrastructure that you have at your disposal, and see how best you can do that. Because at the end of the day, think a bit with a larger picture. So what's going to happen? So there is going to be voice input, The voice input is going to be converted into text input. The text input is going to run inside some of the framework like Langchain or some other framework, and then it is going to trigger the large language model, which is going to trigger the functions. So from voice to final function trigger. So all these things happens, and the speed with which this happen is going to also improve. Currently it is slow. You saw that it takes a little bit of a time to connect with the AWS, work with the Langchain, large language model, etc. But the things are going to speed up. So that is an overview that I want to give in this particular discussion. I believe that you like this content. Do leave a like, share it with others, and subscribe to my channel for further updates on not just large language models, as I always say, on the entire Python ecosystem. With that said, I would like to leave this discussion with 4 words, that is practice, 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 practice. See you guys. Have a great time.